you wouldn't say, can I? I just told you can. It's 100, there's many different ways to do it. It's how can I?
You are ridiculously good at a lot of stuff. You just don't know it because you're usually comparing to the best, or you don't talk about that thing with beginners.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode. Episode number 1438, a simple mindset shift to help you find more success. Today, for episode number 1439, adding one word to this question changes everything. Everything is all caps, so you know this is some serious business. As I mentioned, Alan, I went to wonderful Vermont last weekend, and I had this very surreal, humbling moment. So at the cabin, there is a picnic table on the hill, and this cabin is right on the water. So you walk outside, and there's this hill that goes down right into Lake Champlain. So probably 15 feet from the water. And this picnic table is up on the hill, and you can overlook the water. This picnic table was where I worked 4 years ago when we first went up there. So Tara and I went there in 2019 for the first time ever. I remember sitting on this picnic table, feeling the breeze, hearing the waves crash, tracking my finances. And as much as the breeze felt nice and the waves crashing sounded nice, tracking my finances was not so nice at that time. I didn't enjoy that very much. And I remember having a conversation with myself saying, am I actually going to be able to pay the bills? Can I actually pay the bills this month? Because I was in the negative. And at that point, you and I we were a business, but our finances weren't combined. And there was a lot of things going on behind the scenes. We weren't the business that we are today. We had one client at NLPS. I was doing the uploading of the audio there, and there was no Wi-Fi. And I was thinking, we're in trouble. This is not good. This year I go and I have a new car, and I'm going to Belgium in a couple of weeks. There's a lot of amazing things happening because the business has grown so much, and we've been making money as a business, and we have an amazing team, and Tara and I are married now. It's weird. A lot of weird things have happened. A lot of things are just different. Life is very, very different. And one of the reasons why is because I started asking myself, or tried to start asking myself, a different question. You even heard it in the way I phrased it. Can I pay rent this month? Can I afford to take Taryn out? Can I get another client? Adding one word to that, how can I, is one of the most powerful shifts you can make as a human because it creates opportunity. There's belief in that. Can I suggests you don't believe you can. How can I suggests yes, I can. I just need to find out how. What are you doing?
I'm sorry.
Look, Alan and I had a competition to see who could tell a better story at the beginning of it. And Alan's over there trying to fluster me by dancing and smiling and laughing. He's trying to throw me off.
You know what it is? I'm moving my chair a bunch, and I'm realizing that's going to be on the audio. So I apologize, audience, for all of the chair movements. This is a new setup for me. It's a new setup for me. Yeah, if you can't handle... As a storyteller, as an orator, as a speaker,
you make me laugh. Anybody else, I'd be fine, but you make me laugh, so it takes me out.
Got to.
That really is the episode. That's the effing episode in a nutshell.
That's it. That's the end.
Yeah. If you ask yourself different questions, you get different answers, and it's a very scarce question to say, "Can I?" Now, here's the thing, too. I just want to preface. Maybe right now you're in the season where you're still, "Can I?" That's okay. It's not the end of the world. I'm not making that wrong. That's where a lot of us start. That's where most of us start. What could you do to start asking yourself how? You're capable of it. You're probably more capable than you realize. But even that question, can I? You probably wouldn't ask yourself that question if the stakes were higher. So if your house was on fire, I'm sure you would say, how can I grab my pets? Not can I, how can I? How can I get out of this car that's on fire? How can I, whatever, swim to the dock? How can I get to safety versus can I get to safety? I'm guessing there would be more abundance in the questions you would ask yourself because there's more dire straits. I know that's kind of dark, but yeah, I figured I'd add that as well.
Well, when your back is up against the wall and you don't have any other option, you have to get really creative. Yep. I know at one point you were charging one of your cards to get money, and you get creative, you get innovative when you have to. I'm convinced.
I'm not entirely sure that's legal. So thank you for airing that out to the world.
No,
I appreciate that very much.
You're good.
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
There's nothing. Stripe gets money for that. It's genuinely they want you to do that.
I know.
More,
I'm just teasing. Yeah. There was a time where I was like, I don't know, skirting some laws here, whatever it is. It's my money on all ends, but yeah. Yes, go ahead.
Well, the point that I was making with that, Kev, is you put yourself into a position of necessity. You put yourself, I'm convinced of this. You've heard me say this before. If you're a long-term listener, if you're a new listener, this is the first time. The dark holes that we find ourselves in life, whether it's your health, your wealth, your love. In this case, for Kev, it was wealth. Whether you're in a ton of debt or whatever, those dark holes that you find yourselves in, it requires you to innovate. It requires you to go get tools to climb out of the hole. It requires you to develop skills to climb out of the hole. And the tools and skills that you develop to climb out of that dark hole also build skyscrapers. I know one of my clients was in $50,000 worth of debt after college, and he hated the idea of being in debt, and he had credit cards on credit cards, and he was screwed financially. And he went and eventually hit rock bottom. And he decided after that, I'm going to learn finance. I think he learned from, who's the big finance guy? There's like one of the people in the industry famous for teaching people finance.
Chris Harder?
No, wasn't Chris. I don't think Chris was around back then. This is many years ago.
People finance. I don't know.
Oh, he's one of the famous guys that teaches people how to get out of debt.
Oh, Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey.
That guy. Yeah. Dave Ramsey. So he went all the way back to basics and climbed out of that hole. And now he has those skills. When you climb out of debt, you now understand finance at a better level.
Yeah.
So sometimes you got to back yourself into a corner in order to get yourself to learn the skills and to learn the tools. And that's not uncommon. That's not uncommon. The story that I want to share for this episode, again, this is can I do it versus how can I do it? One of them is scarce and I don't know if I can do it, and self-doubt and struggle. The other one is brainstorming, innovating, learning, masterminding. So I have a client, it's a couple that we coach, and they never believed that it was a possibility, but they would talk about this horsey ranch that they wanted to eventually live at. But they didn't know how they were going to do it.
A horsey ranch?
Horsey ranch.
Horsey ranch.
Horse mansion. Horsey ranch in the mountains. As a matter of fact, this client, Kev, had it as their desktop background.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful horsey ranch in the mountains. And they started coaching with Emilia and I, Relationship Talks Coaching, RTC. And Emilia and I, if you've ever coached with us, we don't really do a whole lot of can I. It's pretty much, yeah, okay, that's totally doable. Let's dive into how. How? Are you willing to pay the price is usually the question. So we said, of course you can. Absolutely. You too can do it. And they're like, really? We're like, yeah, absolutely. Let's go on Zillow. Right? So we look it up. We look up a mansion that they want. It's $1 million mansion in the mountains. And I said, let's just break it down mathematically. This is totally doable. You two are going to crush this. Don't even worry about it. And they're like, not convinced yet in this conversation. I said, let's break it down. Okay, so new home buyers only have to put 3.5% down. So you're both new home buyers. So that's $35,000. So let's break it down. Okay, $35,000. How much do you have to save per week in order to do that? I said, you're not going to get the mansion tomorrow. And I'm convinced that people are asking, can I? Because they're off on time perspective. If you make $80,000 a year and you're listening, or you make $60,000 a year and you're listening, you could have $1 million mansion in 5 years if you were really smart about it. It is mathematically doable. Now, Whether or not you're actually going to do it is a different story. It's just like anyone can be in shape within reason, unless you have really detrimental ailments physically. But it's not a matter of whether or not you can, it's whether or not you're willing to put in the work and you know the recipe. If you want to make chocolate cake, you need a recipe. So I'm trying to give them the recipe. 3.5% down, that's $35,000. I said, how much do each of you have saved? One of them said like 7, one of them said 10. I said, good, you're already halfway there. Awesome. And then we looked up the mortgage. The mortgage is probably going to be about $6,500. And then homeowners insurance, and there's some other things as well. But at the end of the day, could you two get to the place where you have $35,000 together and you make a combined, let's say, $9,000 a month? And if that's the case, you guys can go buy that mansion. And they looked one up that they wanted, and they're actually on their way. And they've each saved $100 every single week since then. And that's $200 a week every week since that conversation. We recently touched base with these clients. They have 30 grand saved. It really is just a matter of consistency over time. Now, we've done episodes about this in the past. I'll be brief. Could they buy $1 million mansion tomorrow? Absolutely not. Could they do it in 3 months? Hell no. Could they do it in 1 year? Definitely not. Could they do it in 5 years? 100%. But a lot of people don't think 5 years out, and I understand. But a lot of this can I versus how can I, it really is just stretching the time perspective and then doing the math equation.
It's almost like if you don't know how, you can't in your mind.
Yeah.
And I completely understand that. I was, and I still am, the person who Googles how. When I know how, I know I can. And I know it's not that simple, obviously. But that's why we Google how to, how do I know, how will I know? When you're Googling how, you're looking for the certainty that it's actually possible. Really, is what it is. I've used this thought before, analogy, I don't know, example, riddle, whatever you want to call it. If you were locked in, it's not a room because it doesn't have a ceiling, but if you were locked within 4 walls that, let's just say, are 15 feet high, and I said there are all the necessities and all the materials and all the tools you need to build the ladder out of here. They're here. They're not together. They're all apart, and they're strewn about this area, but they're here. You wouldn't have to...
Escape room.
Yeah, it's kind of an escape room. You wouldn't say, can I? I just told you can. It's 100... There's many different ways to do it. It's how can I? You know the problem can be solved based on what you've been given. You just got to figure out how. I wonder if that's more empowering. That would be more empowering for me. Imagine going to an escape room that you can't escape from. And then saying that.
I think that's how a lot of people feel in life.
Understandable.
I do.
Understandable.
I was on the phone recently with a client, and I said, what do you hate most in the world, or what pisses you off, or what frustrates you? And she said nihilism. She said hopelessness. People who feel hopeless. And I said, okay, what's the antidote? She said knowledge, awareness, mental health. I think that a lot of people feel like they're in an escape room that they can't get out of. Mm. And all we're trying to do is teach you that you can and how to do that.
And
I think that's what NLU is.
Yeah. It's probably not as complex as you might think. It most likely isn't as complex. Now, I'm not saying it's not difficult, and it doesn't require learning new skills and being consistent and all that. I will never say it's easy. It's not easy. And I guess it's simple in terms of the understanding. It might be simple. It's not super complex, but
I think it's complex to learn it. I think it's complex living life is very complex, but I think that when you get older and wiser, you realize that it's actually pretty simple. It's kind of like that. So for example, you've been studying martial arts for a lot longer than I have. So it would probably feel really complex to me at the beginning, but you're at a place of sophistication where you understand it and it's fairly simple, if that makes sense. Like business for me, it's very, very simple. It's not that complex, but that's the irony and the duality of anyone who's new to business. It's going to feel very, very, very complex. That's actually why these episodes are so challenging for us, not because it's such a challenging topic. It's because we're taking 34 years of complexity and trying to bring it in a tangible, simple way.
What's going on, guys? My name is Austin, and I've been working with Kevin for a few months now. If there's one thing that I find super valuable is his expertise on how to position the podcast to the right audience and fit the content into the overall business plan. And frankly, when we work together, he challenges me a lot. There were some tough conversations that he initiated with me so that I can really grow in the business. Besides the coaching part, the editing team does amazing work with editing and show notes and staying on top of all communications. Overall, my experience working with Kevin has really been top-notch.
When you've been practicing something, you have a lot of the fundamental blocks. And when I say block, I just mean building block, not limiting belief blocks. That's the other thing too, is if you know what north, south, east, and west are, you know what northeast, southeast, you kind of, the four things give you a lot more than just four things. Mm-hmm. You can say, well, it's not completely north, it's kind of north, it's northwest, or it's northeast. And then you go, when you get there, you go this way. It allows for more context, I think. So I understand.
You ever sail?
You tell me. You know my life pretty intricately. Have I ever sailed?
Probably not.
No, definitely not.
I've only sailed once. Seems simple.
It looks simple.
It's not.
I can imagine.
It's definitely not. I don't think anything at a high level is.
Did you rig the boom arm? By any chance?
Did I swap the poop deck?
Were you the gaffer?
I don't know if there's a gaffer. I think a gaffer is an audio person in film production.
We'll find out, won't we?
Were you the gaffer? Vast astern, you know? Yeah, no, I don't know what I did. No,
what did you learn from that?
I held the rudder.
The rudder.
I held the rudder, which there is a term for. Emilia used to sail D1 for her
I didn't even know that was a college thing.
She's good, man.
That's sailing.
She's real good. That's sailing. Yeah, real good. We're going to have a sailboat one day.
What's it going to be called? The SS Jeff?
The SS Minnow Johnson. No, I'm kidding. It's probably going to, I don't know.
It's honestly offensive to me that you don't have it named already.
Of course I don't have it named already, sir. But again, how can we get a sailboat? Right? We're on our way. But the point of the sailboat thing, everything is more complex than you think when you've never done it. And then over time, as you master it, it becomes... So, for example, even that with the math equation, anyone, let me rephrase. If you have enough time and you save long enough, you could also buy $1 million mansion. It's a doable thing. You know, think about it. If you have a decade, could you save $35,000 in 10 years? Could you get an income where you have disposable and an additional $6,500 with your partner? That's only $3,750 each. You can do that. It's a doable thing. So these people that have these results that you think are impossible, it usually is just a decade of stuff you haven't done yet.
Yeah. And it's the opportunity. Believing in the opportunity that you can actually do it.
Mm-hmm. If you don't believe, you won't learn the stuff. It's like if you're in a dark hole, to my original analogy, and you don't believe you can get the tools or the skills, you won't look. It's called learned helplessness in psychology. You won't even try to get out of the escape room. You won't even look around. You won't even grab the flashlight. You'll just sit there and feel hopeless. If anyone out there feels hopeless, I'm so scared to sound arrogant in these conversations, Kev, but I have a lot of the answers. I don't have every answer, but Kev, you've come to me behind the scenes like, dude, how do we do this?
Many
it's
times.
Like boom, 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 boom. Brandon, he came to me recently. He said, what is the number one skill that I need to master to help NOU grow? And I said, sales. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I said, book club. We just need to build more relationships with people and get them into book club. And he's like, oh, and I taught him the sales star. And he's like, holy crap, this is way easier than I thought. I said, I know. It's actually very simple. But if you think sales is some crazy, esoteric, elusive thing that no one can learn, you're never going to master it.
Yeah. And now more than ever, I don't know if anything is that. There are things that are way harder to learn, for sure, obviously, right? But if you dedicate a good amount of time to learning something, you're going to know more about that than most people.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Really. Think about what you know, whether you're watching or listening right now. I know a lot about fighting. There's a reason I know. I mean, I've just studied it for the last... I've been watching that for a long time. I couldn't tell you how long. Oh my, almost 2 decades? Is that wild? I've never said that before in my life. Yeah, probably close to 2 decades.
And Kev is only ever talking fighting with other people who value fighting.
Yeah.
So think about it. If you talked about it with me, you'd realize very quickly, oh, I know so much about this.
Yeah.
What's another good example of this? So Emilia and Bianca, I'm helping them become stronger storytellers. I've been studying storytelling since I was a sophomore in college, which was when I was 19 years old. So I'm 34 now. So yeah, it's been a long time.
2.5 decades.
It's been a long time.
No, not 2.5.
But no. 15 years?
One and a half.
Yeah. 1.5 decades. But that's 15 years of... I mean, we were doing a Relationship Talks virtual event last week, and I brought her in my office, and I said, sweetheart, I'm just going to go into coach mode. Because she does content, and I do delivery. We are kind of swapping that. I said, sweetheart, look at Kevin and I's last speech. It's 80% story, 20% lessons. The problem with RT is that it's 80% lessons, 20% story. We need to get some more story in here. So then we crushed it. We ended up doing a really good job. But how could she possibly know all that? She hasn't studied. It felt like if you've ever been involved in a filmmaking process, behind the scenes, there's a storyboard. They don't just go make a movie. They storyboard every scene, and there has to be a 3-act structure, and there's a lot of fundamental components. And so without boring everyone, the point that I'm trying to make here is that you are ridiculously good at a lot of stuff. You just don't know it because you're usually comparing to the best, or you don't talk about that thing with beginners. Because why would you? You know? I was on book club, and I said everyone in book club is way better than me at something. And I asked everyone in book club, and they all participated, which is awesome. And I said, we're reading Limitless by Jim Quick, and it's all about the brain and how the brain is something called neuroplasticity, and you can essentially mold your brain. All of our brains are completely molded based on what we think, what we do, what we believe, what we feel, our upbringing, all that. And I said, everyone in book club, please put in the chat one thing that you are certain you're better than everyone else in book club at. And I said, I know it's probably hard to do, but please put one thing. One person put crocheting. I'm like, well, how long have you been crocheting? I think she said 25 years, something like that. It's like, if you and I crocheted together, you would feel so good about yourself. You'd be like, oh my God, I'm amazing at this. And I'd be like, no idea what I'm doing. But the problem is that we're evaluating ourselves based on these other things that are byproducts of something we're really good at. The people who are the most successful in our economy are the people who got really good at a couple things, and then all of their success is a byproduct of that. And that's a different episode, so I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole, but it's very important. They're doing the how can I in one area. How can I become a better podcaster? How can I become a better speaker? How can I become a better writer? How can I become a better songwriter or singer or dancer? How can I become a better director or actor? These people, they're not inherently better than you. They're not. They're staying in one lane that is really, really marketable, and they're asking, how can I, instead of can I? And quite frankly, they don't believe in themselves, and I've studied these people, I've coached some of these people. They don't believe in themselves in every area. When it comes to finance, some of these people have no clue what they're doing. That's why they just hire a financial advisor. They don't know personal training. I have a lot of multimillionaire, very successful mentors, clients, coaches. They didn't know anything about fitness. They were, can I? Can I get in shape? Can I lose weight? But in their thing, it's all how can I. It's all just a matter of doing the equation. If you don't have the equation, you're not going to be able to succeed.
Next time, my next level nugget, next time you are faced with a decision, ask yourself, how can I? And try to dig through your awareness to come up with 3 to 5 things. But I do understand if you don't have the awareness, it's very hard to come up with the how. Right? A lot of people pay for the how. How do I start? How do I do this? How that? But you probably have better answers than you give yourself credit for, very much to what Alan was just saying, if you sit with it. So if you had to come up with 3 to 5 hows, how can I get everything I want to get done today done? I want to clean. I want to do the laundry. I want to go for a run. I want to go boom, boom, boom. All right, let me figure out how can I do that. Let me sit down and actually schedule out my day. Awesome. How can I also learn for 30 minutes when I do that? Well, when I go for the walk, I could listen to an audiobook. So it's almost creating the opportunity for success instead of the scarcity of not being able to do it. It's a long next level nugget. That would be my next level nugget.
And if you don't have the answer, reach out to someone who does.
Yes.
I hurt my back recently. I've talked about that several times. Bianca hurt her back and has back challenges. And I went right to her. I said, hey, B, later tonight, can I ask you some questions about after our coaching call? Because we were scheduled. And she immediately told me everything. She knows so much. She knows so much because she's dealt with it for years. Anything that you've dealt with for years, you know really well. And if you want to ask, how can I achieve X, Y, or Z, there's someone out there who can teach you that. That's where books come in, how-to books. And that's my next level nugget is if you ask, how can I, and come up with nothing, ask the person. I immediately, when I tweaked my back, I was like, I'm going to talk to Bianca. I know she's had back challenges. I'm going to go to my chiropractor. I'm going to consider reaching out to a physical therapist I used to coach. You just get really resourceful. How can I is a very resourceful question. That's my next level nugget.
It's one of my new favorite questions. I do believe I've been doing it for a while now, but this is also, and when I say a while, I'm not saying years. I mean, maybe a year. This is another good awareness to have before we get out of here. I think that question is directly connected to confidence. If you probably become a more confident individual when you say, how can I instead of can I? Because how can I suggest you can? Can I suggest you might not even think it's possible for you? So I would say if you are finding yourself asking that of yourself more, you're probably becoming more confident. You might just not realize it yet. Mm-hmm. Next Level Nation. If you have been asking yourself, how can I level up my life, my love, my health, and my wealth? I'm listening to the podcast. I'm in Next Level Nation. I want more. I want more. I want more. October 3rd, 2023, our 12th round of group coaching starts. It is totally virtual. You're on Zoom with Alan and I every other week. There's a WhatsApp group. It is amazing. You will feel very supported and you will definitely get to the next level of your life. We have redesigned it completely to make sure everything that we teach is going to land. You're going to feel like you're included in part of it. And most importantly, you're going to feel safe. So link will be in the show notes for that. The landing page is live on the website with the discount code we give you. It ends up being, I believe, $96.60 per month. A bargain for what you're going to get. Very affordable and very worth it, we promise.
Remember those days when you were on a sports team and you didn't want to let the team down? So you stayed more accountable, you stayed more consistent, you worked harder, not just for yourself, but for the team. That's what we're trying to replicate in group coaching. This episode was Can I versus How Can I? The blog, the Next Level blog, there's 8 blogs posted. We're doing them every other week. Every single one of them is a how-to. So how to become a sales star, how to streamline your dreams, how to fail forward, how to grow through adversity. All of those blogs are all how-to. So if you are interested in how-to, check that out. The link will be in the show notes.
Tomorrow for episode number 1440, I was just updating the title. The pain that comes with new awareness. We pride ourselves on talking about all the stuff, the good parts of growth and not so good parts of growth, the great pieces of awareness, the struggle that comes with that awareness. So that will be a very real growing pains type episode. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we don't have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
How can you succeed? Next Level Nation.